Welcome back to Between Two Screens. I am really excited to have with me today from WATG and Wimberley Interiors, their Chief Development Officer and one of my all-time favorite people from the hospitality design industry, Raj Chandnani. Raj, good morning.
Good morning, Ari. Good to be here with you.
How are you?
Doing great. Doing great.
Okay, cool. Well, let's jump right into it. I see you're not at the Wimberley office, so can you tell us where you've been working from the past few months and how remote work has been going for you?
So I'm working from my home in Los Angeles, and it's actually been an interesting adjustment because I actually worked part-time from home before COVID as well. So I had a home office set up. So transitioning to that was not as difficult as some of my colleagues and peers in the industry. I think it's been the interactions with those who have now adjusted to post-COVID that's been interesting. So before you could just walk across the office or pick up the phone, I think that there's more interaction on a day-to-day basis on all types of activities and project pursuits and business activities. It's not been that big of an adjustment. What's been more of an adjustment is that I probably spent half of my time traveling. And so I have to admit that I've had that itch to get back and on a plane and out and about and seeing clients and being inspired by new architecture, new hotels. So that's been, I don't want to say a struggle, but it's been missed.
A couple of quick get to know you questions.
Sure.
All right. I know you travel a lot. Have you lived outside of the US?
So I've traveled abroad and stayed abroad extensively. So I had a stint where I was in the UK for 6 months, but I don't know if I'd call that living. But so I've always been kind of based here in Southern California.
Cool. I consider living somewhere if you went grocery shopping more than once.
Well, I did do that. Yes.
There you go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you have a bucket list destination somewhere you have yet to be that you'd really like to go to?
You know, it's interesting, and a lot of people find it surprising, but I've never been to Australia.
Okay.
And it's someplace that I've been intrigued with ever since I was in elementary school because of, south of the equator, the interesting architecture, the beaches, the rugged landscape. And it's, for whatever reason in my career, we've never had a compelling reason to get down there. So that's probably one on my bucket list.
What about a favorite band growing up?
That would have to be Depeche Mode. I'm also a big fan of music and all genres of music. And that goes back to when I was in the high school marching band, to understanding and appreciating vocals and orchestras and all. Yeah, I'm a big fan of music.
What did you play in the band?
Clarinet.
Okay. Is there anyone in the hotel industry at large? I know you've met a lot of people, but if there's one person you haven't met that you'd love to just take out for dinner, pick their brain, could be young, old.
I'll give you a fictitious one.
Okay.
And that would be Elmsworth Statler. And he's like one of the godfathers of the hotel industry, Statler and Waldorf. Okay. I still remember the two guys in the Muppets, Statler and Waldorf, were the two critics in the balcony. And just, he introduced some innovations. He endowed the hotel school, and just what his thoughts were as he was tackling the hotel industry. That would be interesting to me.
Cool. Is the goal, would you say, to survive the next 6, 12, 18 months? Or is there an opportunity to actually thrive as a design firm or sort of any companies within our industry?
I think it's a balance between the two, right? You need to be smart and you need to look internally to figure out, do you have the right business model? Do you have the right team? And then also understand where the industry is taking us. So make no mistake, all of our offices are closed. We're working remotely, and design by its very nature is a very collaborative process. So how do you collaborate remotely? And we've seen many of our designers thrive in this environment, and others have struggled. So it requires some intentional focus and collaboration. So checking in with teams. Sometimes, I was sharing with my colleagues, when you're in a design office and you just walk across to get a cup of coffee, you walk past 3 or 4 other projects you're not working on, and that's a source of inspiration. Or someone walks by your desk and looks at it and gives you a suggestion, and then that's a spark to change something in the design. And then when you travel, you see something, some detail or some building or some element that sparks as an inspiration. We've lost all of that when we've been sequestered to our homes. So how do you do that? Like, obviously there's a rich repertoire of photography and work out there, and sometimes it's just a matter of sharing it. And I think what I've learned is that just speaking with our designers is that they're thirsty for that design dialogue. So trying to encourage that and giving them the opportunity to think out loud without any judgment or without having it to be a final design decision.
And you've been in the industry, I think, since the mid-90s.
Correct.
What do you love about it?
I love everything about hospitality. It's a little bit inspired by my mom. I think when I was little and we had guests, it was a whole ritual about her taking out the china and setting the table and providing snacks and thinking about what their drinks are going to be. She took great pleasure in hosting. And I think that's the same thing. What I enjoy about the industry is that we're bringing people into our hotels, whether it's for a business travel or a vacation, and you're putting them at ease and giving them the opportunity to relax and feel at home. And to see how that comes to life around the world is very inspiring to me. And seeing how hospitality, there's a commonality, but there's a distinction to it when you go from city to city or country to country.
If you had to point to a single deal or project or relationship that you could say is the one you're most proud of through your tenure at WATG?
I don't know if I could point to one specific relationship. What I attribute to is the network that I've cultivated, and that started back at Cornell in the hotel school. And I think what it was is I never had intentions of being in a design firm. I was more of a real estate focused. But one of my mentors was Bruce Bolton with PKF Consulting, and he was my first job out of school. And I learned a lot from him, but what I discovered is that in the greater LA hotel market, he knew everyone, and he had cultivated a relationship over his 50-year career. But it wasn't just knowing the person, it was knowing something about them. He had an inherent curiosity about him. So, when you look at a hotel, it's not just about, it's a box and it's in this market and you do the analysis. It's what makes that hotel tick versus the hotel right next door. Is it the brand? Is it the design? Is it the positioning? And I used to have very insightful conversations with him. And I think when you have that curiosity, clients notice that because they realize that you're vested in the industry and you're thinking about not just their investment horizon, but their operational strategy and what happens in the long term as well. So I think that was really important to me in terms of, as I was reflecting on what my successes have been.
And before we wrap up, is there anything around you, I know you're at your home, that you can share with us that's maybe a source of inspiration or a source of meaning? It could be big, small, old, new.
So every morning I make a cup of coffee in my French press. We were on a vacation, a family vacation in Hawaii, and I ordered the French press. And my mom had never seen it, and she was intrigued, and she was like, "Why do you like that?" And I gave her my whole spiel. When we came back, she was on a mission to buy me a French press. Mm-hmm. And she couldn't find one, and she called her friend, and her friend looked it up on the internet, and then there was one available in Pasadena. So she called her other friends. So it was like this whole orchestration to buy me this French press. And so I use it every morning, and I think of my mom and her network of friends. So I think that's kind of special to me.
Love that. Well, Raj, I can't think of a better place to end. Thank you for joining us again on Between Two Screens. Wishing you well. Hopefully we get to see each other in person. But until then, keep up the great work and the positive attitude.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Ari. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.